how bad Satan can get.
This man that came to the church that your sister drove the demons from, did he ever come back?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely.
He's a regular church member now.
From the last time I was aware of, and that's probably 6-7 years ago. But the things that happened to me just from the experience, I mean, I'd give anything in the world if God could just open your eyes up and anyone's eyes up to see what happened to me. And it's just something that you just don't play around with. And I feel that thing tomorrow night is bad.
Devil made you curse and smoke dope.
Right. I mean, I don't believe what's happening on TV tomorrow night. It's not like man can say, well, Satan, I'm going to put you on hold until tomorrow night.
Well, no, it's taped. It's taped, sir.
Okay.
Your sister can cast out devils, but you don't think the New York Archdiocese can.
Right. I was not aware of that. If that's what God wants to be put on TV, that's going to happen tomorrow night. Maybe it's going to open people's eyes up to say, hey, this is what's actually happening. You're reading a Revelation that says, woe be on the nation that goes against Israel, for it's a sign of my coming.
Well, but we're not quoting from the Bible tonight, sir.
Right, but we're definitely at the end of times. I mean, we definitely are. And I think what's happening by people saying there is no Satan and stuff, it's giving Satan the ability of saying, hey, let's go out and destroy the world. Let's go out and destroy people.
Wouldn't you think Satan would try to block that broadcast tomorrow night if it's going to...
I don't think... Well, that's what I'm saying.
People's eyes.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe it will open people's eyes. Maybe it will not.
I said, but wouldn't you think Satan... he seems to be such an incompetent devil.
You're right.
I mean, I would think he'd try to block that broadcast.
But I think God might have enough power to let it go ahead. Not that I say that I believe in it. If it was taped, I mean... This is something you just don't tape. This is something you don't play around with. Unless it is God's way of saying, hey, something's definitely happening out there. You can see people walking down the street. You got prostitutes. You've got all this stuff. Maybe this will open their eyes. Maybe they'll go to church. Who knows? I really can't talk right now, but for what happened to me, for God's sakes, start believing.
5918900. So far, let's see. Earthquakes, floods, sickness, cancer, AIDS. Okay, that's God's side. Boils, cursing, smoking dope, and sodomy. The devil's side. 5:50 the time. WLS Talk Radio 890. Clearing a little cooler tonight. Tomorrow, sunny, unseasonably warm. An overnight low of about 45. Tomorrow's high around 70. WLS across the clock traffic with the ever-popular Bill Keller is next.
Join the conversation you're hearing right now. Call 591-8900 on WLS Talk Radio 890. Once again, here's Bob Lassiter.
Rock and roll. Okay, this time it is Joliet. Hi there, Joliet. You're on the air, WLS.
Good evening, Mr. Lassiter. How are you doing tonight? I've been listening to your show for quite a while, and this is one of the first points you covered that I've been in complete agreement with you. But it seems to me, though, that the man's concept of God and the devil is what has actually perpetrated most of the evil that's existed on Earth.
Yeah, it is.
In fact, I would say people make reference to the war, and they make reference to the fact that they make reference to the devil making Saddam Hussein do what he did. It's my...
But no one ever suggested driving the devil from Sodom.
That's correct, okay? But what I know about history and everything else, as far as war is concerned, the more people have died in the name of religion than for any other single reason that's ever existed on Earth.
Well, to one degree or another, virtually every war that has ever been fought any place on the face of the Earth was, if not totally, at least partially religiously inspired.
Right. I'm in complete agreement there also. It's just unfortunate that people tonight are beating a dead horse. I think that you've proven the point that you've tried to make. And you've mentioned the exorcism or supposed exorcism on 2020. I'm curious if this has been observed, though, by any independent people. I know throughout the course of time in the early 20s and 30s, Houdini went around to expose false mediums. Has this exorcism been viewed by scientists?
Well, according to the article, and we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 very short paragraphs. I mean, each paragraph is basically a sentence. We're talking about my guess would be less than 100 words. According to this, the exorcism was filmed, taped, whatever, by ABC, by the 2020 people.
Mm-hmm.
Does that qualify as an independent observer? I'm not so sure. I'm going to have to wait until tomorrow night and see what precautions they took in terms of being hoodwinked.
I'm not so sure either, but I'd hate for the people of America or anybody that was around to be fooled by a bunch of tricks, basically, which might be the way this actually comes out if it's sat and analyzed by people that know what they're looking at specifically.
Well, I'm fairly confident that you're not going to see any attempt at anything that might be described as supernatural behavior. I don't think you're going to see any 1,000-pound pieces of furniture flying through the air or a priest thrown through a window, climbing back in, and all that kind of good stuff. You're going to see, my guess would be, a 16-year-old girl reacting, jumping up and down, screaming, hollering, cursing, maybe throwing things, perhaps talking in a bizarre tone of voice. But what else could there possibly be beyond that?
I don't know. I don't think body parts will fling off of her.
Me neither.
It would be hard to even try to imagine what this is actually going to be like. But what they probably have is a very disturbed young girl, and I'm sorry to see that somebody's going to be exploited in this manner. Either that, or it's some type of almost like the old yellow journalism, the exploitation, just because the church is
You're the second one that has mentioned, the girl being exploited, and I don't think there's any question, and that's what, in all probability, we're going to see tomorrow, but it's really 250 million Americans who are going to be exploited by this, because this is going to help reinforce ignorance and superstition in the minds of those people already prone to it.
I agree.
And that's who the real exploited party is, and that's tragedy.
Yes, it is. But apparently people are so short-sighted, or this has been ingrained in their subconscious so deeply that they can't get away from it. That is unfortunate, too, but I guess things have been that way since the beginning of religion, basically.
Well, I'll tell you that unless there is absolute, unequivocal proof of some type of supernatural possession tomorrow, I am deeply, deeply ashamed of my industry.
I see what you mean. Thank you very much for your show tonight, Mr. Lassiter.
Thank you. 591-8900, 591-8900. This time it is Norridge. Hi there, Nor. You're on the air at WLS.
Bob?
Yeah.
Bob, if I could be permitted, I would answer both questions. That man asked one and you asked one. First of all, the proof that there's a devil. Now, if people don't believe, then they're not going to believe me. But if they believe, then they'll believe it. Because our Lord himself said, "Begone, Satan, it is written, thou shalt not."
Yeah, I know. He thought that illness was demon.
Huh?
He thought that illness was demon inspired.
No.
Oh yeah, he did. Remember, he drove the illness out of the people, and evil spirits went into the pigs, and they jumped into the lake and drowned.
Huh? Bob?
Yeah.
Now the second question: at the end of the world, the devil goes about seeking souls who he couldn't devour. Like a roaring lion goes about it. Everything bad comes from the devil, and everything good comes from the Lord.
Well, no, that's not true. Cancer didn't come from the devil.
Well, I'm not talking about cancer. I'm talking about
cancer's pretty bad, isn't it?
Bob, do you know what temptation is?
Atomic bomb didn't come from the devil.
Do you know what temptation is?
Yes, man, I'm tempted to hang up on you. 591-8900. I feel temptation every day. Sometimes I fight it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I... Holy cow. I never really looked at it that way. Never really looked at it that way. Maybe the devil's giving you more than just boils and cursing and sodomy. Gave you the telephone. 591-8900, coming into the third dreaded hour, the final hour, the open hour. 591-8900. Welcome back, friends and neighbors. Welcome back indeed at Thursday, April the 4th, 1991. Lassiter with you, the Mad Dog at WLS, Talk Radio 890, Chicago's talk station. By the way, for the benefit of those of you who were not there at 4 o'clock, the third letter in Mad Dog's secret message contest is the letter N, as in Nancy. Okay? The third letter is the letter N, as in Nancy. Back to the telephones we will go. There isn't any hope whatsoever in trying to bring you up to speed. Have you not been along? But You'll catch on reasonably quick, I'm sure. 591-8900 is the telephone number. Of course, it is the dreaded hour, the third hour, the final hour, the open hour. Though we seem to have a barn burner here today. To St. Charles, it is St. Charles on the air, WLS. Hello, St. Charles.
Hi.
Hi.
It struck me as kind of hypocritical. The journalist at 2020, a few years back, I'm sure we'll all recall, Geraldo Herrera did the show on satanic occults among our youth. And I think that 2020 is just out for ratings or something.
Yes, ma'am. Every television and radio show is out for ratings.
You see what I'm saying? Geraldo was bringing to light what is going on among our youth. It's become epidemic between the drugs, the sacrifices, whatever it is. And he was saying in his show, it's a cover-up. There's murders every day that are related to these satanic cults.
Yes, ma'am. He also said he had found Al Capone's safe.
Pardon me?
He also said he had found Al Capone's safe.
Yeah. Well, I just think that he was at least
transvestite nuns who beat their husbands.
He was bringing to light a problem that exists, and it's not necessarily Satan, but it's a problem that is very serious among our youth. And 2020 with an exorcism it seems absurd. I myself am not going to watch it, and I watch that show every Friday night.
Well, why won't you watch it? I suppose they really do have somebody on there with their head going round and round and round and round.
Well, I don't believe in the exorcism. I believe the woman who was talking about the boils earlier, I believe that you have a free will to do good and bad, and that Satan or the devil is just an analogy of what bad is. It's each person's choice.
Thank you very much. 591-8900, 591-8900 in Michigan. Hi there, Miss. You're on the air, WLS.
Bob?
Hi.
You made a comment earlier to one of the callers about man being created in God's image.
Well, that's what it says in the book, sir.
That's right. And, man has a choice, you said, as far as doing good and evil. And you made a comment about whether God...
That's right. I said that apparently, therefore, man has the capability of doing evil as created by the Creator.
Well, the Creator, when he put Adam here on this earth, after he created earth and heavens and the seas and put all the animals on earth, when he put Adam on here, he put Eve on here too, and he told them both not to eat of the fruit of...
Yes, sir. We're all familiar with the story. What's the bottom line?
Well, sure, God knows evil. He knows what good and evil is, and man knows what good and evil is. We can walk in our Creator's footsteps, but we can never be a God.
Sir, I don't believe that was the topic this afternoon. 591-8900, 591-8900. What's the atmospheric conditions between here and Michigan that made him think that's what the topic was today? What's the atmospheric conditions between here and every radio receiver tuned to the station? 591-8900, the telephone number, the dreaded third and final hour, the open hour. To Oak Park, it is. Hi there, Oak. You're on the air, WLS.
How are you, Bob? Oh, excuse me. Hi, Bob. Yeah, this is an interesting story. I one time read a leaflet from Jehovah's Witnesses, and for some reason or other, they said that the devil came to Earth in 1917, right? So, in the 1960s, here I am. I'm out in Oregon, and I'm kind of on this commune, right? And so there was an elderly man that kind of owned the land, and he was the leader of the commune life, right? So there was a thing about him whereby any time we would get in any kind of like a conflict, he had to be the leader, or if you did something better than him, he would be jealous, right? And so he, he's older than us, all of us, and he kind of knew the things we didn't know. So one day I asked him, I said to him, you blank, what year were you born in? And he said 1917. And it hit me in the head. I went, well, maybe this is true that the devil did come down to, was personified by God. And ever since that day, and I'm not one to be a religious person necessarily, right? And that's basically my story.
Devil made me do it. Oak Forest, hi there, Oak. You're on the air, WLS.
Hello. I have a question. The statement you're saying is that Satan cannot harm anyone when they're possessed?
No, ma'am. The statement I'm saying is there ain't no such thing as Satan. Nor is there any such thing as possession.
Or is Satan possession?
That's right, ma'am. If there is no Satan, there is no, being possessed by him, is there?
Okay, well, you said you've read the Bible twice through.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me, is there mention of Satan at all?
Yes, ma'am. There are also mentions of unicorns, fire-breathing dragons, donkeys, and snakes that talk.
Right, but there...
Any number of fascinating things are mentioned in the book.
Okay, but nothing in the Bible has been disproved so far. Scientists have found through the flood, you believe in the flood, don't you? That's what caused the Grand Canyon. They have fossils of dinosaurs. They have proved that there has...
No, ma'am, it was not a flood that caused the Grand Canyon. It was a river that caused the Grand Canyon.
A river? Where is the river?
The river's at the bottom of the canyon now, ma'am.
Okay, well, anyway.
Used to be at the top.
Even if you don't believe... I'm not worried about the flood. That's not my point. What I'm saying is, Satan is here because I have proof.
Great. What bad things has Satan done? What can you attribute to Satan?
Okay, I was listening earlier, and the lady with the boils, it says in Job that Satan inflicted or smote Job with boils.
Okay, that was 5,000 years ago. Can you think of anything that Satan has done since?
Okay, in the New Testament, Satan possessed a man and gave him strength, and no one could tame him. They caused him to cut himself with stones, and the devil was cast out by Jesus.
Is that the devil that went into the pigs, that jumped into the river and drowned themselves?
I believe in it, many devils. And
of course, you've never heard of people who have gone berserk and couldn't be restrained, have you?
No, they can be restrained. Only that.
No, ma'am. I beg your pardon. Lots of times people have gone berserk, and there weren't enough people around to restrain them.
Didn't a man... Well, then what do you think that is?
It's not proof of evil spirits or devils, ma'am. It's proof that people sometimes go berserk and can't be restrained by a number of people around them.
But there is proof in the Bible, though, of possession in the Bible. It does mention Satan, and Satan was an angel of God, and Satan was perfect once until he fell.
I know all about that. Could you give me some other things within the last 2,000 years that Satan has done?
Well, there's a man came on the radio earlier and told you that he himself was possessed earlier.
Yeah, I know. He said Satan made him curse a lot.
Okay, but there...
Well, boils, cursing, sodomy, and fights are not evil. I can think of worse things than that. I'm not afraid of somebody that can make boils. I don't see any reason to be saved from somebody that can make boils or make people curse.
Okay, but if he possesses you, though.
But all of the horrible things, and is Satan responsible for the floods?
No.
For the earthquakes?
No.
The typhoons?
No.
The diseases?
No.
Is he responsible for? Is he responsible for a perfect order that helps people? For example, perfect order in the universe that helps people be able to deliver weapons of mass destruction to within a square inch on the other side of the world where they want to deliver them. Is Satan responsible for that?
But I also think that if you
no, he's responsible for boils.
If you want people to listen to you, then you need to listen to people.
Oh, I see. What's the matter? The question's too tough for you, man.
No, you won't let me talk. I just want you to listen to me for a second. If you're asking me all these things, you say that you know that Satan was an angel and he fell.
No, ma'am, I don't know of any such thing. I know that's what the story is, ma'am. I know that's what the story is. I frankly don't believe the story.
But that's what the Bible says.
Yeah, I know that's what the Bible says.
So the bottom line is whether the Bible is truth or not. And if you don't believe in the Bible, then you're lost.
Oh, to who, ma'am?
Then you'll go.
I'm lost to who?
You're lost yourself. You won't go to hell. You will go to hell. You won't go to heaven. Because when you die, you either go to heaven or hell. And if you don't believe in the Bible, then obviously there's
so if I don't believe in the Bible, then I'm lost to this guy that makes people curse and gives them boils.
No. In order, see, you are on this earth for a reason. When you die, you either go to heaven or hell.
What's the reason I'm on the earth for?
You have a choice.
Now, what's the reason I'm here for? You said I'm here for a reason. What's the reason?
I don't know what your reason is.
Well, then why did you say I'm here for a reason?
Because I am a Christian. I am put on this earth because
I'm here because you're a Christian?
No, I'm saying me. I don't know why you're on this earth. God put you on this earth, so you have a reason to be on this earth, but I don't know what his reason is for putting you on this earth.
Perchance it was to dispel superstition. 591-8900, 591-8900. It is a possibility.
I don't believe you ever knew him. Lassiter? Never met Lassiter. She took offense at some remark of his. She asked him to leave the house, and the next day she refused to marry him. You don't say? Yes, sir, and she was as good as her word. Peaced off because of a chance remark? Well, I'm not sure, Mr. Gildersleeve. Knowing the lady in question, I always thought maybe Lassiter made that remark on purpose.
Informative discussions the way you really talk on WLS Talk Radio 890. From 312 and 708, dial 591-8900. 591-8900. Once again, here's Bob Lassiter.
Oh, he wouldn't have done anything like that. To the south side, hi there, south here on the air at WLS.
What hymn is that?
Oh, that's not a hymn.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm on then, huh?
Yes, you're on.
Well, you didn't say anything. I have an example. See, there is a devil and there is a God. When you do wrong, God puts you in the hand of the devil.
Well, yeah, now tell me some of the bad things that devil has done now.
See, anything that's right and good.
We're not talking about God. We're talking about the devil. What are some of those bad things the devil has done now?
Just like, for instance, you totally ignored me for an hour.
No, I didn't ignore you for an hour.
Oh, in you.
No, ma'am, I didn't ignore you for an hour. There were calls ahead of yours. I try to take the calls in the order in which they come in.
Okay. But have you ever...
Well, I guess that was the devil that made you speak like that, accusing me of things that I didn't do.
You admitted it, that the devil can do things to people. Thank you. Bye.
591-8900-591. What name was that anyway? 591-8900. To Wheaton. Hi there, Wheat. You're on the air at WLS.
How you doing, Bob? Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, I want to say I enjoy your show. And secondly, the lady who just called, that was funny. But I want to answer your question. The devil, in what I think, I don't think he makes people do things. He tempts people. And it's up to us to say,
well,
yes.
if he's an evil force, he certainly has done bad things. He's certainly done evil things. Like what?
The first thing he did was try to overthrow God. That was what he did. But what he does now...
Well, what has he done in the last several billion years?
He's a tempter. He tempts you with evil.
So let's see. Throwing a basketball game, that would be wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, guys that throw basketball games, that's really the devil's work.
I'm not going to say... I say he's the tempter.
Typhoon is, of course, an act of God. Rips into an island and kills 20,000 people or something. The devil throws basketball games.
I know what you're getting at, but I'm not going to try to preach to you or anything. But all I want to say is, the devil doesn't make people do things. He tempts them, and in order for you to understand,
stealing somebody's shoes, that would be a bad thing to do, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And if you did that, it would probably be because the devil tempted you to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I know what you're getting at. I know what you're saying. You read the Bible and you see this stuff. Everyone doesn't get it, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to try to preach to you.
Of course, absolutely, you have to accept, the devil as an act of faith. 591-8900, 591-8900 to, let me see here, Glendale Heights. Hi there, Glenn. You're on the air at WLS.
Bob, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm a new listener, and I just want you to know that you make rush hour traffic a thought-provoking and rejuvenating experience.
I try.
Thanks. And I used to be a fundamental Baptist. I'm not any longer. I now believe that Satan is a fictitious personalization of the evil that's within us, because we do have free will. Satan lets us off the hook for assuming responsibility for our own negative thoughts and our own resulting actions. The Bible was...
I would have phrased it somewhat differently than you did, but I totally and completely concur with your analysis.
Great. I believe that the Bible was written by man. Satan was personalized by man. To succinctly answer your question, what evil does Satan do? He does the evil that we allow ourselves to do.
Well, you see, that's the whole point. There is no answer to the question. I frequently love to ask questions to which there is no answer and then watch people struggle for 3 hours, knowing full well that there is no answer, trying to answer it. If you weren't here at the beginning of the show, this is all because of the segment that's coming up tomorrow night on 2020, which I am just absolutely appalled at.
I didn't know anything about it. I was glad to hear.
I knew nothing about it until I saw the blurb in the newspaper today. It's obviously a last-minute thing to get on, and also something else that apparently, I can only assume, they're somewhat mildly ashamed of, which is why they're not promoting it that heavily.
Well, I witnessed the levitation when I was a teenager, and that was a lot of years ago. And a bunch of us kids got together, and we held our breath. And I don't remember what we did, but I do remember that there was a levitation. And I think that was just a bunch of kids exercising psychic powers that we all have within us.
I know of no, what the hell's the word I'm looking for? It was a horrible class that I cheated in.
Greek mythology?
No. It was a science, a basic science type of course. Can't think of what you call it. Physics.
Oh.
I know of no physical reason for why levitation would be impossible. But I also don't know of anyone who has actually witnessed, measured, so forth and so on. You tell me you have. You also told me you're holding your breath. Maybe you thought you saw it. I don't know. I'm not going to argue with you one way or the other. It's not physically impossible. I don't believe.
It was just a bunch, like I said, it was a bunch of kids, and I think that a lot of us have psychic powers that we don't know anything about.
Well, again, I wouldn't phrase it the same way as you did, but there are explanations, scientific explanations for things such as possibly seeing into the future for a moment or two.
Oh, I've had that happen.
I've had it happen.
Yeah.
And there is a scientific explanation for it. It's a theory, obviously. If it wasn't a theory, then we'd all be able to do it any time we wanted to if we knew how to do it. But it is theoretically possible.
I believe it. I enjoy your show, Frog.
591-8900, 591-8900. To the north side it is. Hi there, North. You're on the air, WLS.
Hello, Bob.
Hi.
I just wonder if that last caller, if those kids had eaten any brownies before they went into that levitation mode.
Well, that's what I was kind of implying with holding your breath, and so forth and so on. But I don't know of any physical reason to say that it can't happen.
I agree with you there. But, and I agree with that lady's, in your opinion, that the devil lies within us. And what I would say is something like a world war and its ensuing devastation, and when it's combined with genocide, that is nothing short of what the devil could do. And but again, it's the devil within us that allows.
If you want to use the devil as a euphemism, if you want to use the devil as some kind of supernatural power out there, then we have some grounds for an argument here.
Well,
but to use it as a euphemism, it's just another word for man's inhumanity to man. Yeah, okay, I can dig that.
Yeah, but
it's not something that can be chanted out of you.
But again, to argue the point of if there is some supernatural basis to that, when you look at Hitler, just look at Hitler and the way, again, if we go back to this Nostradamus prediction, it predicted what history or whatever, and this guy Hitler, his ability to take a people and mold them into a mechanical psychotic state where they could perform, such horrendous acts, but the leader himself was almost immune from assassination attempts on his life, and there were numerous assassination attempts on his life.
So there are assassination attempts on virtually everybody's life as a leader.
Yes, but in Hitler's case, during the war, there were so many violent bomb attempts, shootings, that, you know, if you don't really look at it, you wouldn't know about it. And he survived all of these, and it was only at his own hand that he allegedly died. But then there's so many stories that he did not die, and proof. But, you know, that's getting into the supernatural, and that's goofy. But, you know, what you know, what I feel is horrendous. I think were those the words that you used to describe your feeling there about the ABC's airing of this?
It's possible. I think it's travesty. You know, almost any derogatory word you can come up with.
Travesty is good but I think even the bigger travesty is the lies that ABC and every other network has given us, and to this day they continue with this war. And, you know, I don't necessarily like the Kurds, but I mean, this whole war was to get rid of Saddam Hussein, and we're allowing Saddam Hussein to survive, and we're allowing the people who George Bush called on to eliminate this man, and when they rose up to try and eliminate him, George Bush turned his back on these people. These people who went up in rebellion. But it just goes along with the whole long line of travesties of this whole operation.
Because George didn't level with you, sir. George never apparently wanted to get rid of Saddam Hussein because of the alternatives to Saddam Hussein in Iraq are not in this country's best interest. So George kind of fibbed to you.
No, he didn't fib to me, because I really agree with you. He didn't want to get rid of him. He fibbed to the American people, but they bought it. Hook, line, and sinker.
Because the only other alternative to allowing Hussein to stay in power would have been to occupy, for all practical purposes, forever, the nation of Iraq, to keep those two competing forces, the fundamentalist Muslims and the Kurds, from taking control.
Well, there'd be communists, there'd be Democrats, there'd be Shiites, there'd be the Kurds. You're right. It would be a real hodgepodge, but what the heck did we get in there for in the first place? You know, we call it democracy and this.
So that Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, with our good buddy the Emir, will continue to overproduce, keeping the price of oil artificially low. That was the whole reason.
But so wait a minute. Now you're getting into conspiracy theory where you're saying that he was manipulating the oil market by knocking out the competition of Kuwait and Iraq.
No. What I'm suggesting is that he wanted to restore people who would manipulate the oil market.
Right.
In order to gain or garner, as the case may be, favor with us so that we would, keep their investments safe or sell them weapons or whatever the hell it is that they want.
Yeah, but you know what's another big tragedy that is being hidden from the American people, Bob, is the fact that these fires that are consuming all this oil. And today they just released a report just moments ago where our EPA admitted that the ozone layer is something like 5 times worse than they even admitted. And we're saying EPA, that's the government who's been trying to hide this thing. They said it's not the ozone is, and what this oil well fire is going to do is knock this whole thing out of total kilter. So, I mean, that's probably going to be even a bigger tragedy, even more so than all these people who are dying.
Oh, this thing ain't over. You know, they might be planning the parades, but this ain't over.
No, but we're getting a good buck for it, because I understand that, we've cleaned up, really, because we overestimated the war, and we cut it short, but now we're having all these allies, like you're putting a squeeze on this.
Checks ain't in yet, sir.
Well, that's true, Bob, but you have a good evening, Mad Dog.
591-8900, 591-8900 to Michigan City. Hi there, Mish. You're on the air at WLS. Hello, Michigan City.
Hello, Bob.
Yeah,
hello.
How you doing? Go ahead, please.
How you doing today, Bob?
Go ahead, please.
How you doing?
Rule exercise, Rule 1. 591-8900, 591-8900. This time it is the north side. Hi there, North. You're on the air at WLS.
Hello.
Hi.
Bob?
Yep.
In 1985, I witnessed 3 women. They came out of 3 different state hospitals, nuttier than a fruitcake, all 3 of them. Within 20 minutes, a man of God called those devils out
they came out and they were in their right mind after that. Besides that, in Lane Tech High School,
And you actually saw
25 years ago,
excuse me.
there was a, you were talking about cancer before.
Excuse me.
There was a
excuse me.
that
Excuse
called
me, sir.
cancers out in the name of Jesus.
Called cancers out in the name of Jesus.
And they came out.
Son of a gun.
And they were all over Lane Tech's gymnasium floor. They were sweeping them up after the meeting. That's reality, not religion.
How did they come out, sir?
In the name of Jesus.
Well, no, how physically did they come
They
out?
came right out.
How, sir?
Command.
I mean, they dribble out the index finger. How did they come out?
Through the mouth.
Through the mouth.
Yeah, you've never seen this, so you might mock it. Furthermore, in Manila, in the Philippine Islands, and they still have it, there was a man of God by the name of Lester Summerall that back about 1955, God told him to go there, and a woman was bitten by devils.
Bitten by devils?
He was bitten by devils. They couldn't see them. The guards in the prison couldn't see him. But there was one devil that was about 6 foot tall with long black hair. Now, here's the amazing part. In the medical file in the city of Manila, they still have a hair from that invisible devil that you couldn't see.
Well, how'd they get the hair?
They got it, and it's in there. I spoke to a Filipino.
How do they know it's from the? How do they know it's from the devil that you couldn't see?
Let me listen. On the corner of Clark and Wilson, about 10 years ago, I spoke to a Filipino that knew of this case and named the doctor that was witness to that fact.
Oh my God! The very doctor?
Yes, Dr. Lara.
Dr. Lara.
That's right. So there's plenty of proof. But first of all, the scripture says, seek and you shall find. Before you seek, you'll never find, Bob. Now, the Lord loves you, and we love you, too. Good night.
591-8900, 591-8900. Takes all kinds, I tell you. Okay, this time it is... no, we've already done that. Hobart, hi there, Ho. You're on the air at WLS.
Oh.
Hi.
Hi. See, I don't get this. If you don't believe in Satan or God, where do you think you're going to go when you die?
I don't think I'm going to go anywhere, sir.
Well, I'm Satan, and I'm making reservations for you. Would you like an oceanfront view?
Is this supposed to be amusing? I guess that was. 591-8900, 591-8900. Evanston, hi there, Ev. You're on the air at WLS. Hello, Evanston. Evanston once. Evanston twice.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Bob. The devil and God is all the same thing. The state of your mind. You understand?
Yes, sir, we do. 591-8900, 591-8900, the dreaded third and final hour, the open hour. To Sauk Village it is. Hi there, Sauk. You're on the air at WLS. Hi.
How you doing? What I wanted to say basically was this. You already answered the question. There is no answer to your question. That's plain and simple. I think that really what the bottom line of the situation is that you cannot physically prove whether there is a Satan, whether there is a God, whether people's heads will spin in circles or anything else like that.
Well, sure, sir. If their heads spin in circles, you can prove it. You can get it on tape.
Well, yeah, I guess everybody who's likes watching movies like The Exorcist or Stephen King movies, etc., etc., overall, I think what it comes down to is really what you believe in. That's what it comes down to. Whether you believe it, you don't believe it, everybody's got their own beliefs. I don't think you can prove a belief. Overall. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sorry, I understand what you're saying perfectly, except that's not what we were talking about today.
Well, you were talking about, what was the question about whether or not you can prove there was a Satan or what is
no, sir, that wasn't the question. What the question was, what are some of these bad things that this Satan has done?
Well, again, like you say, you can't show anything that Satan has done as far
I didn't ask you to show me, sir. I just asked you to tell me, what are some of these terrible, terrible things that this evil force has done?
Well, you can't tell. There's nothing to tell.
I know, sir. 591-8900, 591-8900. Aurora, hi there, Aurora. You're on the air at WLS.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
I wasn't going to call until that lady told me that I was going to go to hell if I don't believe in the Bible. I left the church just...
It's amazing. If you don't believe in God, you're going to go to hell. If you don't believe in the devil, you're going to go to hell. You just can't win.
I know. Well, I just want to tell you something. I went to a Catholic high school, and a sister that we had teaching theology there really made me think. First, she says that the last thing she ever wanted to do was be a nun and teach high school, and that's exactly what she was doing. But kids ask Mom and Dad all the time, where did I come from? Well, somebody must have asked, where did we come from? And this wonderful story comes up of Adam and Eve. Problem is that 2,000 years later, we still believe it, and people still are defending it. And it's a wonderful story about how...
Marvelous story.
Pardon?
It's a marvelous story.
Oh, sure.
Unfortunately,
it's not true.
Well, it isn't true because the story is filled with physical inconsistencies and impossibilities.
That's right.
And to try to defend it is to, in essence, rag against knowledge.
Right. And it's just amazing how it's faith. Oh, you have to have faith. Well, prove to me. You know, I can't live my life going on about blind. You know, so it's really neat when they say that something good happens to you.
But here's the really incredible thing. It sounds like you really had a good teacher. Damn good teacher. But here's the really incredible thing. No, you can't prove that there's a God or a devil one way or the other. And it doesn't really make any difference over some of these minor little things. These things do not prove a God. These things do not prove a devil. And to get wrapped up in all of this ridiculous nonsense seems to me to be taking away from what faith should really be, from what a belief in a creator and a savior should really be. Getting so bogged down in hopeless detail. But that's what people's lives are, getting bogged down in hopeless detail.
I agree. As far as my life is going, in my opinion, I'm a good person. I would never hurt anybody intentionally. And I do my best to help people. And you can't tell me I'm going to go to hell because I simply, my church may be a walk through the woods on a Sunday morning as opposed to going and giving a priest $50 because he told me that money is evil. And then I'm going to go to hell if I don't pay up. I remember one time in church, they locked us in the church until they got X amount of dollars. It was ridiculous. And the priests are telling me that I'm going to go to hell if I don't listen to what he says because he is God and all this other baloney. And I just couldn't believe the stuff that was coming from these people. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to go to heaven just like everybody else if there in fact is a heaven. Because I'm just as good as the next guy, and the fact that I don't go or conscribe to a organized religion doesn't mean I'm any worse than anybody else.
I hear what you're saying, and I thank you for it. Keith is talking right now to the person that we're going to next because I don't want him to hear what I'm saying to you. Keith, got him? Okay. He is going to say to me that I have saved him. I believe he's going to try to use some counter-psychology on me. He's going to say something about, after listening to you, I know my belief is stronger than ever, because he thinks that I'm out to change his mind and want to, and he's going to try to stop me from doing it in the future to other people. Okay, off it is to Niles. Hi there, Niles. You're on the air at WLS.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
How you doing?
Fine.
3 points I wanted to make. One about religion is, you know how you say you have your own religion, you believe how you want to believe?
Mm-hmm.
My little saintly 89-year-old grandmother, she's religious, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, she doesn't push religion on anybody. And I almost beat the hell out of somebody once because they're born-again Christian.
Mm-hmm.
They were telling me my grandmother was going to go to hell because she's not born again. And when I told him, I don't believe in that, my grandmother, blah, 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 he went on to, instead of just accepting my belief, he, really tried to push his belief on me. That's one point, but I wanted to explain how you saved me, Bob. You saved me because I used to listen to another person, and I used to thought they were really neat and they were cool and they, had a good point of view about everything, until I started to realize they were, pushing their view only, and anybody that ever had their own view, he wouldn't let them speak about it. He'd push them off to the side and never let them speak or he'd like cut them off right in the middle and keep talking as though they were still on the line when they weren't. And I know the work of the devil, Rush Limbaugh.
I owe you a terrible apology.
Why?
Well, you see, right before you went on the air, Keith came on the line and talked to you. That was so that you could not hear what I was saying.
Because I'm a good listener, I turned my radio down.
Oh, even better. Well, I didn't want you hearing on the phone. I didn't want you to get the phone feed because you see, on the screen here it says, Niles, you have saved him. And I thought what you were going to say is that, you're knocking God and stuff all the time, and all you've done is make me believe all the more. Because occasionally people try that stunt on me. It's reverse psychology. That says I'm supposed to go, oh, no, I'm actually promoting religion. And so I told the audience that that's what you were probably going to do, and I was going to have some fun with you.
Oh, no.
You see, that's why I owe you an apology, because we deliberately went on the line with you before I put you on the air so that you couldn't hear me.
Oh. No, you saved me from making my brain rot away listening to Rush Limbaugh. I honestly, Bob, I used to dread having him go off the air and you come on, until I started listening more and more and more to you, until I started seeing you have actually an open opinion, and sometimes I disagree with you, which is my right, as like you say.
No, I don't have an open mind at all. I talk about things that I have already determined for myself, but the way I try to do it is by challenging people to defend their beliefs. I don't have an open mind. I've made up my mind on all this stuff. Try to make people.
Your point in that, but I think you have an open mind where you'll listen to somebody.
If they'll answer the questions.
Okay.
Sure.
Like you know how you joked about like killing cats and stuff like that?
Yes.
I seriously don't believe you go out and kill cats.
No, I don't.
But I seriously believe Rush Limbaugh. You know how he says animals have no rights and all this?
Mm-hmm.
I seriously believe that man, if he saw a dog in the road, would probably go at it with his car and hit it because it was in his way.
Well, to tell you the truth, I doubt very much that he would. I don't know, quote-unquote, Rush, but I have met him, and I have spent some time talking to him. And I don't believe that, which makes what Rush says even worse.
So you think it's his shtick?
Yeah.
I hope he's not that bad that he makes out with his animal rights update and his homeless update and all that stuff, because I used to listen to him, and I used to think it was real neat, until I started listening to him. And I like animals a lot, but I don't push it on the people. Don't eat meat, don't do this, don't do that. But I don't believe like in animal abuse or anything like that. And he sometimes like puts it across, animals have no rights. They have no feelings. They don't feel pain. They don't feel joy. And believe me, I'm sure animals do. I stepped on my dog's foot, and he's like yelped and ran. So I know he feels pain, unless that's a form of enjoyment for him, which I doubt it. So... One more thing, if you don't mind.
Sure, what's that?
Somebody should like send these stories that I read, like in the Tribune or the Wall Street Journal, about these animals that save people. He never brings those points up. Like a dog 6 months ago, a Rottweiler. An owner was walking him, and a burning building was there, and the dog, I guess, ran into the building and pulled the child out and dragged the child down the stairs. I mean, down the stairs sounds bad, but out of the burning building. Nobody knew the kid was in there. But he never brings points like that up. He just brings points how, they're shooting coyotes, animals have no rights and stuff like that, when I believe animals do have rights, or people wouldn't get in trouble if they are caught abusing them.
Well, I don't think an animal should ever be abused. I do firmly believe in the harvesting of animals. If there's some good that will come... Oh, God, excuse me.
Smoker's cough.
No, that was a feather.
Oh.
If there's some good that will come to mankind, then I have no problem with the harvesting of animals, but to deliberately harm, hurt, kill an animal just for the fun of it, no, that's wrong.
Well, no, I see your point, because I don't eat meat, but I don't care if anybody else does. That's their choice.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, animals, like cows, were put here to feed people. I have no qualms about that. I just don't do it.
Well, I'm not sure that they were put here to feed people, but we've kind of gotten used to it.
Well, that's where they wound up, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks for your time.
591-8900. I'm often asked, do you believe in God? To which I frequently respond, that all depends on what you mean by that. Which is probably it's probably not a good answer. And sometimes I'll say, no, I don't believe in your God. And people go, oh my God, he doesn't believe in God. Gonna rot now. Well, let me tell you why I don't believe in your God. Maybe you don't believe in your God. See, I have this nasty habit of thinking about things. And I don't always make the right decision. And I'm not the smartest guy on the face of the earth. And sometimes I'm, pretty naive, and sometimes I'm pretty damn silly, and sometimes pretty damn stupid. But I think about things. And I try my damnedest to understand why it is I feel the way I do. And sometimes I admit to I can't tell you. It's just the way I feel, man. There isn't any rhyme or reason behind this. It's just the way I feel. But that's not the case with God or the devil, by the way. You see, my God could never send an earthquake to punish people. My God could never send floods or illnesses or set one people against another because of some perceived insult. I mean, my God would never send people out to smite an entire nation and to take their worldly goods and their virgins and their camels and cows back with them. My God would never do that. God could never do that. God is not a monster. He couldn't possibly be. And yet, so often, the Judeo-Christian God is portrayed as such. Unacceptable to me. My God could never, ever, ever, ever create a being that could turn into Lucifer and allow that being to exist. He could never do that. My God could never vent evil and allow it to bring misery to people's lives. My God would never punish me eternally for uttering the wrong word. My God would never punish me for going to a nudist colony and laying out there in the buff under the sun. My God would never punish me eternally for masturbating. Or for falling in love with the wrong person at the wrong time. He would never do that. My God, however, would probably punish me forever for supporting a war that was ill-conceived, where millions upon millions of people are going to suffer. I think he'd punish me for doing that. I think he'd punish me for not trying to rectify the situation. And I think I would be deserving of that punishment. So when I say that I don't believe in your God, that's what I mean. It's not quite as bad as you might think on the surface. I've read the book. I'm aware of what it says. There's a lot of good in it. There's a lot of nonsense. And there's a lot that just isn't very good at all. Things that my God could never possibly do, under any circumstances or conditions. I have no way of knowing if my God sits around in a white robe on a throne with, angels playing harps, and it doesn't really make any difference to me at this point in the game. I don't know if I will ever see my God. I don't know that I will ever know in this life or another life, because I don't know if there is another life. I do not find it the most bizarre concept to think that I was placed on this earth, or my ancestors were placed on this earth by a superior being, a supreme being. And I have no way of knowing whether there's one supreme being or a planet full of supreme beings that are in essence my God. But I wish you'd think about what I just said. How my God would never punish me eternally for saying the wrong word. But he might punish me eternally for messing up this world, bringing grief and aggravation to people and not trying to correct it. I frankly think my God's a hell of a lot nicer than yours, but I'm not going to try to sell you mine. And please be kind and don't try to sell me yours. And don't be so quick to come down on me when I say, no, I'm sorry, I don't believe in your God. Okay?